Welcome to POP Podcast. I am so excited about today's deep dive, you guys.
Yeah, this one is wild.
Right. It's like one of those things where you're just scrolling through your feed and you see a headline and you're like, wait a second. Did I read that right?
That was me, for sure.
Yeah.
Had to do a double take.
Absolutely. It was one of those, hold on, I'm going to check this out moments.
Totally. And,
Yes.
we just had to share it with you guys, too. It's just too good not to talk about.
Right. So to set the scene for everyone listening, we're talking about a fire
A fire at Disney World.
at Disney World.
Yeah.
More specifically, Epcot.
Epcot's France Pavilion, to be exact.
Yes. So this all happened just this past Saturday, March 22nd, 2025.
Pretty recent.
Very recent,
Yeah.
still fresh in everyone's minds, and you probably saw some stuff about it online.
Oh, yeah, the pictures and videos were everywhere.
Right, like a plume of black smoke rising above Epcot.
Yeah, it was pretty dramatic looking.
It was, like, not something you expect to see at the most magical place on Earth.
Makes you wonder what really went down.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to do today, get to the bottom of this whole thing.
Separate fact from fiction, like we always do.
And maybe uncover some surprising little details along the way.
So, yeah, I think everyone's first thought when they see smoke at Disney World is, oh my gosh, is everyone okay?
Right. Was anyone hurt? What exactly happened? And I have to admit, I was kind of picturing like a whole ride engulfed in flames or something.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Wait.
Like a full-on disaster movie scene.
But that is not at all what happened.
Thankfully, no.
So from the reports we've gathered, it seems the fire actually started backstage in the France Pavilion.
Yeah, not in a public area.
Which makes sense where most guests probably just saw the smoke and not the actual flames.
Makes you realize how much goes on behind the scenes at a place like Epcot.
Right. Like there's a whole other world back there that we never see.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the source of the fire, it wasn't some spectacular malfunction or anything.
It was actually a walk-in cooler.
A plain old walk-in cooler.
A Disney representative told CBS News that's what started it all.
Kind of anticlimactic, isn't it?
In a way, yeah. I was expecting something way more, I don't know, Disney-esque.
Like maybe the fireworks system went haywire or something?
Right. But nope, just a regular old cooler malfunction. Goes to show even the magic has its everyday realities.
It really does. And it does raise some interesting questions, right?
Yeah.
About safety protocols and all that.
Absolutely. But before we get into that, let's talk about the immediate impact. What happened when the fire broke out?
Well, from what we've gathered, the Remy's Ratatouille Adventure Ride, which is right there in the France Pavilion, was evacuated as a precaution.
Makes sense. Safety first.
Totally. And thankfully, no injuries were reported. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely. Property can be replaced, but people's safety is paramount.
100%. And speaking of property, did you see how quickly the fire department got everything under control?
Oh, yeah. Super impressive. It was reportedly out by 7:20 p.m. that same evening.
That is fast work, and I think it's a real testament to their emergency preparedness, right?
Yeah, for sure. They have to be ready for anything at a place like Disney World.
Imagine the chaos if they weren't. Okay, so they put out the fire, everyone's safe. But what about the park itself? Was Epcot closed for the rest of the day, the weekend?
Here's the kicker.
Yeah.
Epcot reopened the very next day, Sunday, March 23rd, for its normal operating hours.
For real.
Yeah. And even Remy's Ratatouille Adventure was back up and running.
Talk about bouncing back quickly.
Right. It really makes you think about the level of organization and efficiency behind the scenes.
It's like a well-oiled machine.
Okay, so before we get too deep into those behind-the-scenes aspects, we have to talk about the social media side of all this. Because, man, did this thing blow up online.
Oh, yeah. The internet was buzzing.
It's kind of fascinating to see how quickly news travels nowadays, right? Like, 1 minute there's a fire at Epcot, the next minute it's all over Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere.
Everyone's a reporter now.
Right, and everyone has a front row seat to these events, even if they're thousands of miles away.
It really changes the whole experience of news. For sure. I mean, there were people posting videos of the smoke, pictures of the fire trucks, firsthand accounts of what they were seeing. It's like we all got to experience it together in real time.
And that's something that wouldn't have been possible even a few years ago. It really makes you think about how connected we are now.
It does. And if you're enjoying this deep dive into the Epcot fire and you want to hear more about the stuff that pops up on our radar, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes.
We're always on the lookout for those wait what moments.
Okay, so back to the story. I think one of the most surreal things I saw online was that video of Peter Nooney.
From Herman's Hermits.
Yes. He was performing on stage at Epcot singing, "Mrs. Brown, you've got a lovely daughter," and he actually stops mid-song and points to the smoke in the distance.
Oh, wow. I saw that.
It's this bizarre juxtaposition, right? Like, here's this happy, nostalgic performance happening, and in the background, there's a potential emergency unfolding.
It's like a snapshot of our modern world. Pop culture and breaking news all colliding in one moment.
It really is. And it kind of speaks to that whole thing we were talking about earlier about how we all experience these events together now through social media.
It's like this shared online narrative that we're all contributing to.
Absolutely. Okay, so just to recap everything we've learned about the Epcot fire, let's lay it all out. So on Saturday, March 22nd, 2025, a fire started backstage at the France Pavilion. The cause was a walk-in cooler malfunction. Remy's Ratatouille adventure was evacuated as a precaution, but thankfully no injuries were reported. The fire department quickly got the situation under control, and both Epcot and the ride were back open and operating as usual the next day.
And if you were worried that this might affect your upcoming Disney trip, it seems like you have nothing to worry about.
Right. It was a pretty contained incident, all things considered. Which I think brings us to our final thoughts on all this. This whole thing really makes you think, right? About how we consume information, how social media shapes our understanding of events, and even about the behind-the-scenes workings of places like Disney World.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that even the most magical places have their everyday realities.
And those realities can sometimes catch us off guard. Like, who would have thought a walk-in cooler would be the thing to cause a fire at Epcot? It's almost funny, in a way.
It's definitely not what I was expecting.
Right. But it's those unexpected moments that can often lead to the most interesting conversations. And it makes me wonder, what other behind-the-scenes things are happening in seemingly perfect places? Like, what goes on backstage at a concert? Or behind the scenes at a fancy restaurant?
That's a great question. I'd love to know more about those hidden worlds.
Me too. It's like a whole other layer of reality that we rarely get to see.
It makes you appreciate all the work and effort that goes into creating these experiences.
Absolutely. Anyway, we've gone way down the rabbit hole today. But hey, that's what we do here on POP Podcast.
We embrace the rabbit hole.
We do. And we hope you guys enjoyed coming along for the ride.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives like this one.
And let us know in the comments what behind-the-scenes stuff you'd be curious to learn about. We're always looking for new rabbit holes to explore. Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you next time.